Y'all come back eventually. Why do you try to run in the first place? It doesn't matter. Even though you're here, you're going to try to run again. Just stop. Because just like this town, you're only moving in circles.
Echo it's important. It's strange to talk about Echo, being in fact a visual novel that has been a pillar in this fun subgenre of furry visual novels. A psychological thriller, a completely sinister work of horror full of discontent and heaviness, comes as a complete surprise the very first time you read it. That said, this video will have several spoilers. I would actually recommend that you read Echo first if you don't know it, since the less you know about the novel, the greater the impact. Echo surprisingly doesn't have many graphic sexual scenes, even though they do describe them at a certain point. Through it does so in a very bizarre way, but we'll talk about that later. Echo has the distinction of being a kind of an antithesis, a total deconstruction of the typical visual novel in the very classic dating sim style. Simulators that attempt to represent highly imaginative and surreal scenarios that capture perfect moments of romance, perfect couples, diverse moments and opportunities that many desire. The concept of demonizing loneliness as something less than ideal. The act of exaggerating love into something plastic and perfect. Something Echo takes and unreveals from a darker reality filled with horrifying truth.
What? Do I have to say it? Alright, fine. I fucking hate this place. Everything about it. The most miserable goddamn place I've ever been.
Echo is an old visual novel, but it's gaining popularity for its absolutely gripping plot from the very first few words. We mentioned this before in the smoke room video, but it's actually worth it addressing this in this video. Echo is named after a town, the main setting of the novel. Echo is actually a real town located in Utah, and video ads from people who are fans of the visual novel go there. Echo itself is a mining town, one with a huge lake, Lake Emma, and actually neighboring a town called Python. These elements are important to its story. Echo at the beginning of the 20th century had a significant event, a significant mass hysteria, the founding of the town, the birth of a successful mining company. Echo had reports of mysterious attacks, murders, out-of-control fires, and people reporting unexplained visions. It all ended in a night, where the entire population ran out of the town upon seeing something unexplicable, something dark, something of a sinister nature, being a century later where the novel begins.
Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. We're gonna get you fixed. I didn't mean for this to happen, but we'll figure something out.
The last 2 years have been hell for me. I cried myself to sleep every night thinking about. But last month, for the first time, he stopped. I stopped thinking about you every hour. But those thoughts were always there. Echo just brought it up to the surface.
2015. Here we meet Chase, a college student who returns to Echo to complete a university project, a documentary about the town, specifically the mass hysteria. In this part of the story we are introduced to the fact that Chase is originally from this town, actually returning with other childhood friends of his who were also studying at the university with him and who also came from this town. Jenna, a kid fox, intelligent and sarcastic but cool, and TJ, a lynx, shy and a little innocent but kind and noble. Upon returning to town, they stay at a motel where some old-time friends from the town visit them. Leo, a big red wolf, muscular, friendly but nostalgic. Gar, a sheep, quiet, cool, distracted but kind and polite. And Flynn, a Gila monster, sarcastic, rude but noble and cool also. Everyone is introduced in a very simple yet brilliant scene. A casual meal in a motel room, everyone eating sandwiches and talking about old memories they had as young people in the town, school, job, Chase, job, etc. Everything presented with such a brilliant coincidence that it characterizes the genius of this novel. It's casual, playing with the everyday life. Here the novel does not exaggerate the characters' traits in a caricature-like manner, but rather in a more cognitive, more realistic way. Here the characters act as if they were people who know from work or school. Here the realism is palpable, so much that it can capture well in this simple but yet complex scene. Here, in a motor room where this legendary photograph was taken, we met the characters we must accompany to get to know the town and its inhabitants.
Days are closing in around me, and the flowers both slowly withered. So putrid, it's a filthy, repulsive thing, innocent, sweet. Let me turn into a curse, just die. Stop it and erase the burden I cry. 'Cause
Wait, Hallie steals Marta's boyfriend? I don't know how many times I have to say this, they were not fucking together.
Yeah, not only that, but she was fucking him the entire time Marta was talking about getting back together with him.
What?
No way. Absolutely the fuck not. There ain't no goddamn way you're making me drive the opposite direction of ending this whole nightmare of an evening. Jenna turns, giving him a look. Fuck you.
Each of the characters in this novel is portrayed with certain traits that seem to fall into common cliches. In fact, I dare to say this is one of the biggest traps Echo sets that make us fall so far into its downward spiral. Leo is presented to us as the typical leader of the gang, tall, strong, athletic, and full of attention for others. When we arrive in town, we see that he has a tendency to try to keep the group glued together, rather than together disregarding boundaries. It's almost a dark parody of Fred from Scooby-Doo. Jenna is more of a know-it-all than anything, arrogant and self-righteous. She can, in some cases, be a logical guide for the characters, but she's more of a girl who necessarily uses her intelligence to survive in her environment. Something like Hermione in Harry Potter. TJ is more humble, more shy, someone religious and full of anxiety, being in fact the opposite of Jenna, to the point of being one of the characters that makes Jenna the most angry for her own being. He is someone full of guilt, full of fear that plays against him many times, to the point of being able to bring him down at all costs. The way of seeing him is almost similar to a small child who does not seek to be protected, even when he is forced to. Carl can be seen almost as the drug-addicted type of the group who doesn't care much about his life. He comes from a wealthy family that supports him quite a bit. He doesn't go to college, and he is someone who takes refuge in his relaxed attitude, even when in reality he lives in constant anxiety. with delusions of persecution, with great worries. In fact, we could go so far as to say that Carl has surprisingly proven to be smarter than Jenna in several cases, almost like Shaggy in Scooby-Doo. Flynn, on the other hand, he's not that simple to explain. Well, not that hot either. Flynn is someone very sarcastic and rude, someone who actually managed to explain to us the state of everyone's friendship. He's the most incommunicative of all. He is someone who has wanted to mature faster than everyone, and he is cynical, someone who is angry with everyone, someone who knows that in fact they weren't friends for a long time, someone who, like Leo, clings badly to the past and takes refuge in the nightlife to reaffirm this. He is someone who, like Genya in Demon Slayer, confronts his past with violence, and who, based on all this, present us with the true conflict in the novel. Beyond the town's curse, beyond the romance and mystery, Echo begins his conflict upon learning that there was someone else in the group with them, someone they all miss, except for Chase.
Chase, have you been feeling alright? Because you seem a little off. Especially when we're at the familyplex. And I know we've all been a little off since what happened. I mean, I was feeling really weird the past few days. Maybe you're feeling the same way I was.
Chase is actually one of those characters I've seen most that spark debate regarding the novel. Echo itself, beyond friendship and love, explores other themes that occupy this first one as excuses. Echo is about guilt, pain, and mourning. It's a struggle against evil and an exploration of it. It's a struggle against something internal that makes our protagonists become horrible persons, like Twin Peaks against Bob or the Blair Witch Project against the witch, so to speak. Here it's against a more amorphous being, a being that's actually more of a surprise. It's a shadow. Here Echo becomes more of a story of obsession in the search for the truth, and that's actually something everyone is aiming for, and that becomes the real plot twist. After an argument with your friends started by Flynn causes everyone to separate, the novel divides its story into routes, 5 in total, each of them being seen and accompanied by the 5 characters mentioned before. Each of the routes explored has its own elements that make them important in understanding the work. In fact, each represents a different search for different truths by each of the characters. In Leo's route, Leo seeks to know what is the true nature of the love he has for Chase, here being in fact a route in which we get to know Chase and Leo more as a couple. In fact, something important, Chase is a character that in his first appearance is enigmatic, not as much as Sam in this case. Here Chase evades us, he hides from us. He is presented more as a guy who seeks to complete a mission and leave town, not like Sam who we know in every detail. Chase here seems more committed to being with Leo, although little by little the route becomes a total vision of obsession. Leo in fact here proves to be a sinister character. I would dare to say that Leo in any of the routes proves to be the darkest character in the work. He is someone obsessive, manipulative, someone who merely brought the group together to be with Chase and know exactly what's going on in the relationship. Leo is searching for the truth of his love here to see if he can still be happy in a place that was supposed to be made for him to be safe. A migrant who, after not knowing exactly how his relationship with Chase ended, is alone again. Someone who in fact is forced by some force major to be destructive just to know the truth about love. Leo's route is actually my favorite, being in fact one of the most debated and from which several of the works that most reflect on its ending have emerged. Leo's good and bad endings are the most memorable endings of the work, except for TJ and Flynn's ending, but we'll talk about them later. Interestingly, These two endings gave rise to two of the community's more beloved fanfics, or rather, from what I understand, I don't know the truth. Cycles and Relentless, both taking humorous perspective on how Leo's story will continue in those realities. One in which Leo seeks to continue moving forward, and another in which Leo lives in the past. In Jenna's route, Jenna searches for the truth about peace in further explored. The themes of intelligence and the manipulation of certain media outlets are explored here, but with them, we explore the wilder, more natural side of Echo's population, a violent and cruel one.
Dude, what happened? I felt different. I felt like I knew everything. I knew what I was doing. I just felt like I knew what I wanted. And when things didn't go the way I thought they would, I'd get really pissed.
Jenna has the most narratively heavy route, though more technically speaking. Yeah, Jenna is not my favorite route, quite the opposite. It has a lot of technicalities, and at times it can be boring and unnecessarily complex. In fact, the decisions you make here are more important than they seem. Here, from the very beginning, you need to know exactly what steps to take to ensure a successful end to Jenna's route, and that's pretty lazy for me. But even so, even with an ending not as bombastic as Leo's, here we actually experience some very strange and sinister moments at the same time. We get to see more of the more surreal moments, family and old friends arguments, moments in which we see how the true Lovecraftian nature is at its more splendid moment. Here we actually learn the key elements that made this novel heavier. Relationships with drugs, torture, knowing the most sinister side of people. Here we learn about the most twisted side of the people around us, even those we love. While in Leo's path we experience the twisted version of a loved one, here we will meet more than one, and to some extent the cause of it. Carl's route is actually the most popular one today. This is actually the most recommended one to read after Leo's route. In fact, the same formula for Leo's path is applied here. In fact, starting as a classic love story, turning into a complex story of, in fact, the most important family in the history. Here we get to know a family born from a frustrated dream, a desire for freedom that was shattered by the ideals of the time. Carl's route explores desire and disappointment further, even richer deeper into Echo's boundaries. Here we explore the figure of the ghost, something that makes this route one of the most unnerving and crazy in the novel, especially when we see the savannah scene, which is one of the best written scenes in the novel. To such an extent that with just few words, we know the side of evil caused by someone who sought freedom, lost it, and now wants to take it away from others, even if that means leaving spiritual possessions. TJ's route is more personal, closer to knowing not just TJ, but Chase himself. Reading the other routes, you can see that Chase is not fully presenting his personality. Chase is mostly busy on the other routes, mostly as a medium, a character who was mostly busy representing the decision we were making throughout the novel. Apparently this idea was raised here, and it is being criticized to such an extent that this is the route in which you can jump the most perspectives. In certain parts we see the story from Chase's perspective, and then we jump to see it in DJ's vision. Something great, since this way we learn more about his innocence, one that more than anything is seen as something he forced to remain strong. If in the other novels we follow formulas where we stay with a love for everyone, here we know the reality of knowing that we won't always get what we want. And from here we learn more about Chase, mostly a that vision of him. Here we actually see why Chase and Leo made such a good couple. Here we learn about the hypocrisy, envy and obsession of someone whose mind is invaded. Here we see an old friend again, indeed. In this route we are introduced to two important characters who are dead. Yep, the one from the smoke room. Here, he's mostly a ghost. His personality in Echo is completely different. Here, he is more sarcastic, more violent, and even more possessive when forced to. Here, Sam ordered us to have more aggressive thoughts, some in which we become obsessed with DJ, to the point of making us feel jealous of others. We became manipulative, more overprotective, to the point where we made DJ feel harassed. And beyond rejection or love, we do it to hide a secret, one that Flynn seeks to discover, one that DJ feels guilty about, a strong one that ended up changing everything. On this route you can explore the secrets and guilt on a larger scale, so much so that Chase's final line in this route becomes the one that best represents Echo. Here we are presented to Sydney. Flynn's route is actually the heaviest and best written in the novel. It's the most bizarre in a way. It would actually compare it to William's route in the smoke room, only more sinister. Here we explore all the aforementioned topics, but in their fullest scope. Here we see the obsession with seeking the truth on a larger scale, to such a level that one seeks the freedom of just knowing what happened that summer when Sydney died. Here we see how Flynn is destroyed by Chase. The largest scale of sexual scenes, substance abuse, and manipulation are presented here, to the point of knowing the origin of everything.
So, you showed up. You can't keep your nose in your own business, you know that. Who are you? Who's Sam?
I was fixing to ask you the same thing. It's been that all night, and I wasn't expecting company. It's kinda unreal seeing you here like this, though it's been, well, a while.
It feels different to me. This ain't the smoke room. It looks like it.
Not to me. Sam. I am.
Here the end is to know how to understand the tragedy of searching for the truth. Echo rises us to know the reality of knowing that we won't have everything in life, even the truth. And that is indeed the harsh reality that we must accept. In a way, that's the magic of Echo. Many times, even if it is something that prevents us from continuing with our lives, we will not know the truth of everything we see. David Lynch actually used this in his work, and it was quite appealing. And many times knowing the truth made us lose faith in the work, or sometimes knowing something we don't want to.
There is a sense about you that you're prepared to go down the dark road.
I think I like the idea of going down in, and everybody is like that. Everybody is a detective. The unknown is a magnet, and you can learn many, many things by going down in there. And but it doesn't negate a bright road either. A film is made up of contrasts, and knowledge and experience of combined opposites is sort of what it's all about.
Yeah, but the mystery is what turns you on.
Mysteries, we love mysteries. Life is filled with them, and some of them are very abstract.
To such an extent that it may have also made us experience things we don't want to experience. The tragedy of knowing that we will live with something we don't want to accept. Echo is beautiful and makes us accept things as they are. Its art itself puts into it, in fact, with a beautiful aesthetic, almost analog at some point. One that actually rescues the vibe of an old internet. A simple time in 2015, where we live in innocence and calm. Echo in his art and in his narrative, we find ourselves in a novel that shares nostalgia and disturbance. Echo punishes you as it comforts you. It challenges you to face everything that you were uncomfortable solving. It forces you to mature. It forces you to grow. It forces you to see that secrets destroys you. It forces you to kill the past, not out of malice, but for your own good. One that, if you don't keep up, will hurt you in the progress. Echo is beautiful in that we learn more when we reflect. It's more of a word that rewards you for accepting and letting go of the present and punish you for remaining trapped in the past. And that's why Echo is important.
I knew you'd be back. Y'all come back eventually. Why do you try to run in the first place? It doesn't matter. Even though you're here, you're going to try to run again. Just stop. Because just like this town, you're only moving in circles.
What? Do I have to say it? Alright, fine. I fucking hate this place. Everything about it is the most miserable goddamn place I've ever been.
What? Do I have to say it? Alright, fine. I fucking hate this place. Everything about it. It is the most miserable goddamn place I have ever been.
Chase, have you been feeling alright? Because you seem a little bit off, especially when we were at the family plex. And I know we all been a little off since what happened. I mean, I was feeling really weird the past few days. Maybe you're really feeling the same way that I was?
Chase, have you been feeling alright? because you seem a little bit off, especially when we're at Family Plex. And I know we've all been a little off since what happened. I mean, I was feeling really, really weird the past few days. Maybe you're feeling the same way that I was?
Chase, have you been feeling alright? Because you seem a little bit off, especially when we were at the Family Plex. And I know we've all been a little bit off since what happened. I mean, I was feeling really, really weird the past few days. Maybe you're feeling the same way that I was. Chase, have you been feeling alright? Because you seem a little bit off, especially when we were at the Family Plex. And I know we've all been a little off since what happened. I mean, I was feeling really, really weird the past few days. Maybe you're just feeling the same way that I was. Chase, have you been feeling alright? Because you seem a little bit off, especially when we were at the Family Plex. And I know we've all been a little off since what happened. I mean, I was feeling really, really weird the past few days. Maybe you're feeling the same way that I was? Chase, have you been feeling alright? Because you seem a little bit off, especially when we were at the Family Plex. And I know we've all been feeling a little off since what happened. I mean, I was feeling really, really weird the past few days. Maybe you're just feeling the same way that I was?
Chase, have you been feeling alright? Because you seemed a little bit off, especially when we're at the Family Plex. And I know we've all been feeling a little off since what happened. I mean, I was feeling really, really weird the past few days. Maybe you're feeling the same way that I was?
Dude, what happened? I felt different. Like, I feel like I knew everything. I knew what I was doing. I just feel like I knew what I wanted, and when things didn't go the way I thought they would, I get really pissed.
Dude, what happened? I felt different. Like, I felt I knew everything. I knew what I was doing. I just felt like I knew what I wanted. And when things didn't go the way I thought they would, I thought I'd get really pissed. Dude, what happened? I felt different. Like, I felt like I knew everything. I knew what I was doing. I just felt like I knew what I wanted. And when things didn't go the way I thought they would, I get really pissed.
So, you showed up. You can't keep your nose in your own business. You know that. Who are you? Who's Sam?
So, you showed up. You can't keep your nose in your own business. You know that? So, you showed up. You can't keep your nose in your own business. You know that? Who are you? Who are you? Who's Sam? Who's Sam?